Hey guys, so I was asked to make a video on how I use the radiators in my apartment to grow my orchids. And I used to grow my orchids in the other bedroom, the one where the fire escape is, and that one had the radiator in between the two windows. So I used to have the trays side by side and one plant in the middle because there was always that the trim in the center that separates two windows. And my radiators, they provide steam heat. For those of you who don't know, I'm in a New York City apartment. And we get steam heat from the radiators. I don't know how we get the steam heat. They either use gas or oil or something, but it heats up the boiler heats up and steam rises and heat magically comes out of these things. And we can't control it. Most of us in our apartments cannot control the amount of heat we get. I mean, it literally can go from like 30 degrees to 90 degrees in a minute flat. No joke. We have to literally sometimes keep the window. I have it cracked open right now. It's not on because you would hear it. If it was on, it does a hissing noise that fades into the background, but the camera picks up. And right now I have, let me see, it's 73 degrees at the window, and this guy's at 62% humidity up there. He's 73 degrees. So we get steam heat, and we're at the mercy of the super. He turns on the heat, he turns it off. And I swear to God, it gets so hot sometimes. I have the ceiling fans on, I have the window open. I think I know some people turn on their AC in the middle of winter because we don't take off the ACs. We don't have central air, so we can't control it. Only the brand new fancy pansy apartments have central air. Some of them even have garbage disposals now, which is like unheard of. Nobody knows how to use one in the city. So yeah, we get steam heat, and steam heat is very freaking drying. Let me tell you, you'll wake up the next morning like a shriveled up old prune if you don't have humidity in your apartment. And what most of us do is we put a pot of water next to the radiator. And then that's it. The heat from the radiator evaporates the water creates humidity in your room, and you wake up all nice and dewy and fresh. You don't look like the crypt keeper the next day. So he turns it on, he turns it off. We can't control it at all. There's no way to control it. They do sell now these fancy electronic devices you can hook up to your radiators, but I ain't got 50 bucks for that, so that's not happening. And I kept the window open, that's free. Literally, once the heat is on, it is on, and it gets sweltering hot sometimes. And you get people over, and it gets even hotter and hotter and hotter. And I call it project heat. That's what it's called, literally. It's called project heat. I don't live in the projects, but we all have project heat. And it literally is, they just turn it on and they leave it on. Unless you're super drunk that weekend, in which case you're lucky you don't freeze to death because you forgot to turn it on. So you're at the mercy of somebody else for your heat. The boiler breaks, it's like a big nightmare in the winter time. Oh my God, we have no heat if the boiler breaks and they have to repair the boiler. We have no heat, no hot water. So, the joys of New York City living. But it's great. It's memories. So, anyway, the heat that comes out of the radiator is very drying. It's extremely drying. It's steam heat. And so what most of us do, we just have a pot of water next to all our radiators. This one doesn't have one because I have the humidity trace. But yeah, literally in all the bedrooms, you'll have like a little something of water next to the radiator, and the heat from the radiator evaporates the water. And boom, instant humidity. Now, really fancy, you can buy a humidifier and you stick it right next to the radiator, and it's electronic and it shoots out the little plumes of humidity, and it does the same thing. But it's fancy. So, and then my radiator is built into the window. And some radiators in the city are the freestanding ones, the old-fashioned kinds. A lot of people have those. Actually, the reason I started doing humidity trays on the windowsill for the orchids because on my orthos book, I got this book came out in 1999, and I got it right after it came out, so I paid full price for this sucker. You don't need this book. I still reference it. It has some good info, but it doesn't have anything about... It has stuff like temperatures, light requirements, things like that. It tells you some stuff about the plants and things like that, but it doesn't have anything like about semi-hydro. It doesn't have anything about water culture. Nothing new, nothing... I mean, it's 1999. This thing's almost 20 years old. So I think we advanced a little bit. But as you can see right there in the picture, it has one of those freestanding radiators, and there is a little tray with some gravel and some plants. And that's basically it. And you use the steam heat to heat up the bottom. And the bottom heat evaporates the water that you're supposed to put in the tray. And that's the basic concept with the humidity trays. I have like a pebbles in there, and I have water in there. And it always has water. It fills. I have water in there all year long. In summertime, I'll have 80-90% humidity in here. Since I don't have central air, I don't have, literally, there's no central heat, there's no AC. The only air conditioner I have is in the bedroom, because that's expensive and I'm not paying that bill. So we have ceiling fans in all the rooms. And in summertime, it can get, when it was that heat wave we had in July, I had 100 degrees on the windowsills. It was 100 degrees in the windowsills. It was like 100% humidity. And the orchids survive. And then they get the gradual climate change. As the temperature drops, it naturally starts dropping down the windowsill. It's 72 degrees right now. I had it in 60 something earlier. So they get change in temperature with the seasons. And I even had the windows open for like 2 weeks trying to make it extra cold. And I think I got it down to 55 degrees. And I couldn't get it any colder than that, to try to induce the phalaenopsis spike. And that didn't work. So let me tell you, it was just cold in here. But they're still leaves and roots. That's all they do. So that myth don't work. Let me tell you, it does not work when you live indoors and you have heat coming from some source in an apartment. Winter rest, it's a whole separate video. Anyway, back to the radiator. So if you have a freestanding radiator, you have to have something between the plant and your radiator, or else you'll start cooking your plants. I have this humidity tray. I've had these things, oh God, probably about as long as I've had the book. 99, 2000, before the invention of smartphones. So I actually have to call somebody and I order them and they deliver them to the house. That's why I got these trays. But you can use anything, any fancy, you can use a serving tray, anything fancy, and you put some gravel, some rocks, anything on top, and then you put your plant on top of that. And in here I have leca. Let me see if you can see it. I just filled it up. So it's got water, and you can see it creates surface tension, so it helps with evaporation. And the only problem I have right now, and I did this for years, I had them in the other bedroom, and I was growing them like that over the radiator. No problem. They loved it. I have beautiful orchids. I moved the orchids from that bedroom to out here, and they had to adjust because it's a totally different climate. It's a lot cooler on this window than it is in that middle bedroom. That's the hottest room in the apartment, is that middle bedroom. It has like the same size radiator. So yeah, that's a big room. That middle bedroom is huge, but it's not nearly as big as this room that orchids are in right now. And these windows are more drafty for some reason. Maybe it's because it's cracked. Anyway, so what you do is you have to have it, and this only works literally only with steam heat. If you have electric heat, like electric radiator or whatever, don't do this. You'll probably burn down your house. You're gonna burn down your orchids. I'm not responsible for that if you burn down your stuff. Not my job. So you have to have something in between these two, because, and up until about 2 years ago, even last summer, I had phalaenopsis here because I just got the shelf this year, the hanging shelves. So I had my phalaenopsis here, and you see how these guys are, how they grow straight up. I had no problems with them. None at all. When they were going centered and they were going straight up, I had no issues with the radiator. Now they're big and floppy and the leaves come over. So this windowsill doesn't come out as far as this windowsill, and the radiator sticks out a bit. So when they started growing big and floppy, the leaves were falling over and they were too close to the radiator and they started to steam, and I would have to cut some of the leaves off, which is what happened to this guy, my cherry baby. His leaves were growing out. I don't know how this guy didn't get burned. And the dendrobium, he was further out too. He was further out, and I had to cut these leaves. I had to cut these leaves. This guy lost one cane. This one cane lost one leaf, but this other cane, 3 leaves. They steamed themselves because they were too close, and the direct heat was coming up too fast, and they're not used to it because they just had the mild cool down, and we just recently started getting heat now that the temperature is dropping more, and they're totally not used to that at all. And so it was too much too fast. I had to cut all the leaves off this guy because he steamed himself. He literally cooked his own leaves, and I had to cut them all off. And this is a new bulb. It hasn't even spiked yet for me. And now I doubt it's gonna spike because I had to cut off the leaves, and it needs the leaves for energy. So I'll probably get a new growth, and I tied him back because he was too forward. The only reason this guy didn't cook up was because he was already like floppy and he was too far down. So I staked him up like a month or two ago before we started getting heat, and he's upright. And look, he's got these bigger leaves, and he was just high enough that, look at that, the distance between this guy and the radiator was just enough that it didn't cook him. But I would have lost this whole new growth right here because he was literally flopped over, and all this from the top up would have been lost because he would have steamed himself. And the only way I can fix it is either I can build out the ledge, which is probably what I am going to do, is built out the ledge a little bit more so it's more even to this guy, and then the heat has to disperse itself around that little ledge that I built, or I can raise the humidity tray. And if I raise the humidity tray, it's the same thing. So by the time the heat rises and it hits the orchids on top, it shouldn't do any damage. But then they adjust, because now that happened to them a few days ago where they steamed themselves. I cut off the leaves, and now they're adjusting to the new heat that's coming up. And also, I didn't have this problem before either, because also the leaves, these leaves are so big. I pushed the tray forward, and that also created, it's more direct. So that's what you gotta look out for. Make sure you have your tray lifted up enough. Your plants are further out enough that they're not gonna steam themselves to death. But that's it. That's how I grow my orchids on my New York City windowsill. And then if you Google, there's plenty of ideas. If you Google image, Pinterest, stuff like that, it tells you how to build shelves, how to make your radiators into usable space so you can grow your orchids on it, put stuff on top of them, all sorts of stuff. Again, not with electric radiators. Do not do this with electric radiators. This is like literally, it's steam heat. You can do that with this. It's because it's gentle enough. It's not gonna heat up to the point where it's gonna melt my plastic or it's gonna burn down my house. But electric radiators, you're not supposed to put stuff on top of that because they get too hot. They get too hot too fast, and you're gonna kill your plants. You're gonna burn down your house. Don't fry your plants. Gently steam them like I do. They like that. But yeah, that's it. And then just always keep water, and the humidity goes up. And it's the irony is the steam heat, it dries out the environment a lot. But you place some water nearby, a pot of water, and then I have this little humidity tray here, and your humidity rises. Right now I'm at over 60%, 62% according to the one on top. And I'll have like up to 80% humidity even in winter with the steam going. It'll drop down immediately at first. I'll get down to like 30%, and then once this the trays warm up and they start releasing and they start evaporating, the evaporation starts happening. That's when the humidity starts going right back up again. So that's it. So I hope this helps. Oh, and also what else I've been doing? Also, to raise humidity, I've been doing these things. I've been making water trays. See? And I did it mostly for function, because whenever I water, the water, sometimes if I'm not too careful, I'm a little too heavy-handed, it'll drip out of the reservoir, and it'll drip out from the top to this guy, all the way down. It'll trickle down. So I need something to catch the water. And so that also creates humidity. It's a little microenvironment. I'm doing the semi-hydro. There's water in the reservoir, and it creates a little microenvironment that creates humidity. So they have loads of humidity at all times. So it's always there's water in here. Now that it's winter, I gotta be careful. I gotta water less. I'm gonna trickle water and watch how fast they evaporate. But so I don't create mold or rot issues, because even though it's warm and they got lots of heat and they get heated from underneath, the atmosphere is still cold. So the evaporation rate slowed greatly. And then they got the little humidity trays, they got the little humidity dishes. So they have water everywhere. You get a lot of humidity. What else? Oh, if you don't have a radiator and you have no other form of heat, you can do a seedling mat. Seedling mats are amazing. If I would have done seedling mats last year when I started semi-hydro in February, my roots probably would have grown faster. My plants would have gotten established a lot faster. And you can do seedling mats. You can start off with one mat, see how it works out for you, and then you can get more mats, or you just put the plants that are the most at risk, or who need the most help. Or if you just finished repotted, even if you're not repotting into semi-hydro, but you just finished repotting to bark or something, and it's winter and you need the roots to establish themselves quickly, the seedling mat will work for you. I'm too cheap to get one, so. But I know lots of people use ceiling mats to establish their orchids, and it works for them. And so if you have another choice, you need to get through the winter months, you can get a ceiling mat, and that would work for you. And then you can put a humidity tray on top of the ceiling mat, and you can decorate it, and it can look beautiful. I thought about doing it. I'm too lazy. So that's about it. I hope you guys liked this video. If you have any other questions, comments, concerns, just let me know. I'll make another video. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon. Thanks for watching. Bye. Bye, guys.